Good day to all of you. Today we shall discuss on fetching a word from memory. This is the question number 10a, that is explain the process of fetching word from memory in processor, asked for 10 marks in model question paper set 1 of the subject digital design and computer organization with the subject code BCS 302. So before that we should know certain basics. This diagram shows the processor and memory. Processor is connected to memory through bus. So this bus has three set of lines. They are address lines, data lines, control lines. All together form one bus. That is single bus structure. Already we have seen. The single bus having three set of lines connects processor with the memory. This diagram, which shows connection between processor and memory, you must be able to identify certain registers that are there in the processor. This is MAR, memory address register. This is memory data register. This is program counter. This is instruction register. This is arithmetic logic unit. This is control unit. These are the general purpose registers, that is from R0 to Rn-1. If there are 16 registers, they are from R0, R1 to R15. Okay. So in different processors, different number of general purpose registers will be there. So far we came to know the connection between processor and memory. It is done through single bus. This bus is called as external bus. There is one more bus, that is internal bus, that connects the internal parts of the processor. Okay. Now we should remember the different registers in the processor, then memory connection with the processor through external bus, and there is one more bus that is called as internal bus that connects all the different parts of processor inside. Okay. Next, what is the procedure involved in processor fetching a word from memory? So whenever processor fetches a word from memory, from which memory location it fetches, that memory location address it will give in or store in memory address register. So these address bits will be put on address lines of the external bus. Then processor sends control bits on control lines. This is with respect to read command. So what control bits are required, they are sent on the control lines. Then that addressed memory location, because processor has sent read command, so it puts its content, that is data or word, onto data lines of the external bus. So that is inputted to memory data register. So through internal bus, this data is brought to, this word is copied to one of the general purpose register. From general purpose register, it is given to ALU for processing. So this is the procedure involved in fetching a word from memory with the processor. Okay. So with the prior knowledge of the connection between memory and processor and some of the registers present in the processor and what procedure is involved in fetching a word from memory by the processor, we shall come to the actual topic, that is fetching a word from memory by the processor. So whenever processor fetches a word from memory, it may be an instruction or operand. So the word which is processor is fetching from memory, it may be instruction or some data, say operand specified by the instruction. So processor will specify the address of word and requests a read operation. So this is what we discussed in the previous figure. So it keeps the address of the memory in the MAR, memory address register. So that is what the processor will specify the address of the word. And request a read operation means on the control lines, it processor sends the control bits required for read operation. So these address bits and control bits are sent to the particular memory location in the memory. Okay. The processor transfers the required address to the MAR At the same time, the processor uses the control lines of the memory bus to indicate that a read operation is needed. When the requested data are received from the memory, they are stored in register, memory data register, that is MDR, from where they can be transferred to other registers in the processor. Actually, this is what we discussed in the previous figure. It is the connection between memory and processor. And here one more diagram is there. So figure 7.4, connection and control signals for register MDR. So this figure and the content of whole discussion I have taken from the textbook Computer Organization 5th edition from author Karl Hamacher. Our sincere acknowledgement and thanks to author Karl Hamacher. So this shows connection and control signals for register MDR. Memory bus data lines means these are the data lines in the external bus. Internal processor bus means this is the internal bus that connects the different parts of the processor. So these are control signals. So this MDR is connected to external bus and internal bus. So MDR is between external bus and internal bus. External bus goes to memory. Internal bus goes to different parts of the processor. Okay. Next, we should know 4 control signals. So MDR out E, MDR in E. E stands for external bus, right? So MDR out, MDR in. These are the 4 control signals that are used to work with MDR between memory and processor. So whenever processor is reading a word from memory, so from memory the word is put on memory data lines. Then MDR in E control signal is given. So in E means from external bus it is inputted to MDR. So the word is copied into MDR. So from memory it came to external bus. From external bus it is copied to MDR. The next control signal needed is MDR out. So this control signal outputs the MDR to internal bus. From internal bus it is taken to register of the processor. So these are the different steps involved in read operation. Processor is fetching a word from memory means processor is reading a word from memory. So that is the flow of action that takes place whenever processor fetches a word. So MDR is connected between external bus which is connected to memory and internal bus which is connected to general purpose registers of the processor and other parts of the processor. Okay. So whenever processor fetches a word from memory, from addressed location in the memory, data is put on to external bus. Then MDR in E control signal is given. So from external bus the data is copied to MDR. So from MDR to copy to register of the processor, MDR out control signal is given. So MDR to it comes to internal bus. From internal bus it is given to register. This is how from memory a word is brought to register of the processor. Okay. So connection and control signal for register MDR. So this one just now we discussed. The steps involved in reading a word from memory. That is, when a processor fetches a word from memory, it will have sent memory address through memory address register onto address lines of external bus and read command. That command related control bits on control lines to that memory location on control lines. So that addressed memory, then it will put the data, that word requested from it onto external bus, that is external data bus. The control needed next is MDR in E. That control signal transfers the word from memory bus data lines to MDR. Then MDR out control signal is needed. That control signal copies the content MDR onto internal processor bus. From here it goes to register of the processor. This is how a word is read from memory into processor register. Okay. So to write the connections for register MDR illustrated in figure 7.4. It has four control signals: MDR in, MDR out, MDR in E control signal and MDR out E control signal. So these control signals are required to control to and fro communication between memory and processor through MDR. Next, to understand how the processor fetches a word from memory, we shall take an example instruction move in bracket R1, R2. So move instruction copies the content from this source to destination. The source is bracket R1 is given, means it is the address, the memory address. So from that memory location the word is copied to destination, that is R2 register here. So this is an example instruction for the processor fetching a word from memory. The memory is pointed by the R1 register here. That is that memory location address from where the word is being fetched by the processor is stored in R1 register. The actions needed to execute this instruction are: the first one, so in MAR, R1 content is copied. Means in R1 the address of the memory location is stored, so that is copied to MAR. Means memory address register is loaded with the memory address. Next, start a read operation on the memory bus. Means read command will be sent by the processor on the control lines to the memory location. Now memory location is given its address, so which memory location that is identified, and for that memory location read command is also sent. Then that memory location will put its word onto memory data lines. After that it will send the memory function complete signal to the processor, indicating that the data is ready on the memory data lines, you can read it. So till there the processor will have to wait. So the third step is wait for MFC, memory function complete response from the memory. So when memory function complete signal is received from the memory, for processor it is understood that on memory data lines already memory location has put the word. So then load MDR from memory bus. So this action has to be taken. Means for MDR needed control signals will be given. The content from memory data lines will be copied into memory data register. And the last action is whatever the word is brought from memory into memory data register, that will be copied finally to processor register. So that will indicate the completion of fetching a word from memory into processor register. Okay. So these actions may be carried out as separate steps, but some can be combined into a single step. Each action can be completed in one clock cycle. Action 3 takes one or more clock cycles depending on the speed of the address device. So action 3 means here wait for the memory function complete response from the memory. So memory is a slower device. After giving address and read command, for the memory location it takes some time to put its content word onto memory data lines and then to send memory function complete signal. So this action cannot be done in one clock cycle of time. It takes many clock cycles of time. Okay. This is what we can observe in the timing of a memory read operation which is given here. So memory function complete signal. So that particular signal if you take to get this signal, it is taking 1 2 3 4, so it is given in fourth clock cycle. So memory is given address and read command to the memory. So for after this 1 2 3, 3 clock cycles of time is taken by action 3. Okay, that is what is told in the lines. Action 3 takes one or more clock cycles depending on the speed of the address device. Okay, so here the 5 actions needed for fetching a word from memory by the processor, and these are the 3 control steps needed to execute these 5 actions. Action 1 and 2, which are shown here, they are executed in only one control step. R1 out, the R1 stores the address of memory. Out means that is loaded into MAR when MAR in control signal is given. So R1 out is one control signal, that is outputs the content of R1 register memory address, it will output. MAR in control signal makes MAR register to take that memory address into it. So anyway, by these two signals, the memory location address from R1, it is loaded into memory address register. Read control signal is sent to that memory location. So action 1 and 2 are executed in this only one control step. That is what the meaning, that actions can be combined in one control step. Next, in next control step, these two actions are done. Wait for the memory function complete response from memory. Load MDR from memory bus. That is what is shown here. So those two actions, action 3 and 4, are done by the control step 2. So here what is done is wait for memory function complete. Here processor will be waiting for the memory location till it puts its content onto memory data lines. Then this control signal is needed to copy the content from memory data lines into MDR, that is into memory data register. So action 3 and 4 are done by second control step. In third control step, MDR out, R2 in. So already the word is brought from memory and it is loaded in MDR. Now MDR out control signal put its content onto internal bus. R2 in control signal will copy the content from internal bus into R2 register. That is how an instruction move in bracket R1, R2 is executed by 5 actions which are executed by 3 control steps. This is an example for the processor fetching a word from memory. Okay. So this is the timing diagram for read operation. It shows the MDR in E is set to 1 for exactly the same period as read command memory read. The value of MDR in E is always equal to memory read. So MDR in E signal is here. So it is set to 1 for exactly the same period as the read command memory read. So whenever read command signal is given by the processor, it reaches memory in the next clock cycle. At the same time, MDR in E, the needed control signal, is also activated at the same time as memory read. So in the second control step, before wait for memory function complete signal, MDR in E is already made active, because when memory function is completed, when memory location will have put the data onto memory data lines, this MDR in E signal will be ready so that the data from data lines will be copied into MDR. Okay, so that completes the discussion of how the processor fetches a word from memory. I hope you understood. So to answer this question, this diagram plus these 5 actions executed in 3 control steps. Next, this timing diagram along with the connection and control signals for register MDR are needed. Okay. So what was the discussion? That is question number 10a. Explain the process of fetching word from memory in the processor. Asked for 10 marks. So that was the discussion on the topic fetching a word from memory by the processor. I hope you understood. Thank you.